So Hugh, week two of Gaming Spotlight. How do you feel week one went?
I think it was a big success, if I'm honest. The people down here were loving it, in my opinion. Lots of good feedback.
I got the impression they were loving me rather than...
Well, you say that, but a few comments on my shoes from last week, the red shoes. So whoever that was, sorry I'm not wearing them this week, but thanks for the comment.
So on to week two. Where do we start? An exciting week in gaming, but we want to focus on the half-term report of the new consoles.
Yes, now Xbox One and PS4 have obviously been around for a while now. We've had enough time with them, you know, the games, getting used to the hardware. I mean, personally, I feel like, even though we're this far down the line now, it's still not feeling like either's really kind of got that killer app yet. We've got Titanfall coming for the Xbox One, which is getting me excited for the first time about the Xbox One, which is great. But still not enough to get me excited that much.
Well, I have to admit, it was always going to be about Watch Dogs for me. It felt like the first of the real next gens, and I was so disappointed when it was delayed. Yeah. Although obviously we still don't know until when. Yeah. But so I think I felt really let down by that. It's funny, isn't it? I got so invested in that. That was my next gen game. That was going to be the thing that took me to the new generation of consoles. And I felt a little bit let down by the whole thing. So.
I think everyone was, to be honest. I mean, the Watch Dogs was going to be a huge system seller for both consoles. So losing that was a big blow to the Xbox One and PS4 early on. I think the problem is it's the lack of exciting exclusive. Like I mentioned, Titanfall to me is the big one that's got me interested. If you look at what the Xbox One had, I mean, it actually had the kind of bigger exclusives over the PS4, but they ended up really letting everyone down, like Dead Rising 3, Rise. I mean, they were okay, but they weren't brilliant. The thing is, I think more people were talking about Rise though, is because it was an original game, and that's why Titanfall's got me excited. It is it's the first big original exclusive.
It's those new IPs, isn't it? Every console needs something that is, they need some hangovers. They need their Halos, they need their GTAs, and they need things like that. But it's the big new IPs that really get the blood thumping, and that's a real thing, isn't it? Yeah,
I think as well. I mean, looking forward now. I mean, the fact Kinect doesn't seem to be maybe taking off as well with gamers as Microsoft initially hoped. I think we still need to give it time, but I'm starting to wonder now if maybe they should stop bundling it in with the console and bring the price down.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because it was given as one of the great things about buying an Xbox. I mean, I thought actually bundling it made a lot of sense, because then people start developing games for the Kinect. It becomes part of it rather than this kind of add-on that some people have, some people don't, which causes real problems. The issue for me is that some of the big games that were meant to be making Kinect really exciting, like Rise originally was meant to be, suddenly became kind of Kinect games, and you could shout at it, you could do business. It doesn't feel like it's the big evolution in Kinect that we expected it to be.
I think the problem is, yes, the technology is much better than the first generation Kinect, but it's still not at that point where you can completely rely on it solely to play a game. Like Rise was meant to be just a Kinect game eventually, and then slowly it backtracked and sort of slowly Microsoft stepped away from Kinect. You know, it's still bundled, but then just before the console came out, they said, oh, actually, you can disconnect it from the console. So to me, I was thinking, well, then why is there any incentive for developers to use Kinect? If you can just turn it off, why bother?
I mean, this has been a good week for seeing some of the games that are coming sort of in the future. A couple have started to gain a bit of profile. What was the one this week that really caught your attention?
This week for me, it's been The Order 1886, which we got to see some more footage of, which is getting a lot of people talking. It looks gorgeous, like it looks really, really nice. But I know you've got reservations about the gameplay.
You know, making a game look great is one thing. I mean, people have all started sort of bandying the Naughty Dog stuff around and saying this is going to be the gameplay looks moribund to me. I mean, until you get your hands on it and actually, it just looks like a tired old third-person shooter with some really glamorous graphics. You know, looking pretty. It just isn't enough for me. I mean, it's got to have some heart. It's got to have some soul. I mean, you know, my favourite game of all time is probably two of my favourite games of all time are Half-Life and Half-Life 2, and they just had that wow moment. And you know, they had more than just the beautiful graphics. I remember the Half-Life 2. Physics demo with the birds flying off and the things dropping in the ground, but that wasn't the game. That was just a showcase of some of the cool stuff, and the gameplay was amazing. And I fear that I feel like we're kind of seizing on these things because we need something to be excited about, rather than the fact they're actually all that exciting.
I think you could be right, and I think we're at that stage where it's early in the console's lifetime. where developers are pushing visuals over the mechanics. You know, it's how good can we make these next gen, which now gen, but they're still kind of next gen games look right now. So yeah, I mean, that was one game obviously that caught my eye. There is another problem brewing at the moment between the PS4 and Xbox One, which is about the power and the resolutions and frame rates. I mean, this week we found out that Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes is going to run at 1080p on PS4 and only 720p on Xbox One. Yet again, another game that's doing this. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, these differences, they seem quite minor at the moment, but I fear that down the line it's going to become a bit more of a problem, whereas developers are pushing out these games that are looking better on the cheaper console. I think gamers are just going to keep moving towards the PS4. Well,
I think people get very caught up in stuff like that. I think there's a lot of fanboyism involved, and the Metal Gear Solid thing's a really good example. Obviously, it's a game that's tinkered with the fanboy brigades anyway, because it was exclusive, and then it kind of broadened out. And I think for a lot of people, they don't really care all that much. I think there is a huge vocal minority that are really, really worried about what outperforms the other. I think it looks pretty bad for Xbox, but I think at the moment that's kind of inevitable. I think that some of their focus just doesn't feel like it's in the right place, and I think this kind of story does come back to haunt them a little bit. You can see by the amount of pickup it got across the gaming press that this is still a big deal, but frankly, I think from the majority of people, the vast majority of consumers, they're not really going to notice the difference, and I think that's got to be somewhere in the whole argument, which is unless you're looking at them side by side, it's going to be pretty hard to spot.
I guess while these two are battling out there, we've also got poor Nintendo, who are struggling along.
Do we want to talk about Nintendo? Because nobody else is.
It's a sore topic, but I think we have to address it. I think we have to address the fact that Nintendo might need to do something very soon. I mean, developers aren't interested. We've seen that in statistics. There's very little interest in.
Was it 96% of developers weren't fussed about Wii U?
Yeah, only about 4% actually want to make.
And they have the advantage of the first party stuff. Obviously,
yes,
Nintendo have got some of the best games of all time that they can bring back into their world.
Yeah, and I think this week, while we had a lot of these kind of gloomy headlines about Nintendo, we have to remember the next few months are going to be quite big for them. They've got some big games. They've got Mario Kart 8. They've got the new Super Smash Brothers. Big games, big first-party titles.
Party.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think it's end of days for them now, and we might have to see them sort of bumble along till the next console.
I suppose one of the other big things about consoles, which we've touched on already, is that the competition might be getting a bit bigger. We touched on Apple maybe not getting involved in gaming, but you do have things like the Steam machine, which is making PC gaming feel really vibrant. You've got the Oculus Rift, which is obviously very PC focused at the moment, but I think is kind of a disruptive tech in the way that the Wii was originally to the kind of console world. And then you've got sort of other people drifting around. You hear Amazon bandied around. You've still got the game streaming stuff that could potentially be quite disruptive. I mean, what's your thoughts?
My thought, I mean, at the moment, the one I'm most keeping closest on is Steam machines, because I'm intrigued as to whether Steam machines are really going to be a threat to the consoles or whether they're going to kind of exist alongside. I don't think they're going to be an immediate threat. I think it's going to be a slow take-up. So I don't think the PS4 Xbox One have too much to worry about right now. But I'm really excited about the idea. I really like the idea of being able to play PC games in my living room, because there are so many PC games I want to play out there that I can't because my computer just cannot handle them. So if I had a Steam machine, I'd I'd love that. I don't know about you, but the idea of being able to just put all that on my living room TV.
Well, I mean, I've written about this quite a lot because the Steam machines obviously really appeal to me. I mean, most of my gaming background is PC based. I'm from Half-Life and Counter-Strike and things like that. So really, really excited about Valve's involvement. Obviously, Steam is so big, but it's all about that controller, because the whole problem with PC in the living room is it's traditionally mouse and keys, and mouse and keys do not work on a sofa. People have tried to come up with ideas to try and fix it. They've never really managed it. The controller idea with the two kind of touchpad things, it's a nice idea, but to replicate that kind of gaming feeling and that accuracy of the first-person shooters particularly, but across everything, I mean, that's a big deal, and I suppose a lot of it is whether they nail that controller. I
think the other problem at the moment, obviously, with the Steam machines is they require the games to be compatible with Linux, and there are only sort of just over 300, I think, games in the library at the moment that are. So it's gonna be a slow process, I think, this whole thing. But I mean, I agree with you. I think maybe in 5 years' time, when lots of people do have Steam machines, it's going to suddenly be a much better proposition because it's like, well, a better game comes out that my PS4 can't run. I have to wait 10 years to get the PS5, or just upgrade my Steam machine, and you know, I've got this like next gen game right now. That's the end of another, I'd say, cracking gaming spotlight, Patrick.
I think you're probably right here. But if you've enjoyed it, please feel free to subscribe to Tech Radar on YouTube, or come and visit us on techradar.com.